for those who come after. In this video, I'll be showing you the Duelist class mod in Baldur's Gate 3. So this is pretty much a Maelle from Expedition 33 mod, and it's incredible because it comes with these really nice VFX here that are straight up out of this world, as you can see right there. Now, they had to re-upload their mod on Mod.io, but I also want to mention this is available on Nexus if you prefer. And I also just want to quickly shout out some other mods made by Mantis here, which has the Expedition 33 faces, as well as their collab with Setastarians here, which brings in CL, Renoir, and Verso head mods. And Mantis version having Lune and Gustav, so I'll have this linked in the description. And also the Clair Obscur at Home mod here by AirLess, also available on Nexus mods and in the in-game mod manager. The Duelist class mod also comes with a huge amount of rapiers here from Expedition 33, all coming with own unique abilities that are progressively going to get stronger as you level up. So with the Duelist, at level 1, we get our basic attack here, which allows us to apply our pictos in an attack. So this is going to be obviously a core part of this build. There's a lot of builds in this, so I'll probably do another video in the future. And for this video, I'll just keep it to level 12, but there is level 20 support here. So yeah, Beat Around My Bush did an incredible job with this mod, and there is like a near infinite amount of builds because there's 150 different passives in this mod. So now for our stats, dexterity is going to be a main important one here. Now, with this, we don't really do anything other than attack roll, so this stat spread works well. Alternatively, you can go all in on your dexterity and then boost up your wisdom here because wisdom saves are obviously quite important, and roll the stat spread like this. But the class is set as an intelligence-based caster. So for our level 2, we get spells. Now, there are a lot of different passives and abilities that you get from here, but the cool thing is this actually plays very much like it does in the very base game of Expedition 33, where we want to go into our virtuoso stance. So Swift Stride, obviously going to be an impactful one. And if the target has a burn, we're able to restore action points and get into that virtuoso stance. So for that reason, I think that the Spark is a great choice because it gives you 3 stacks of burn, and it'll also apply additional 2 if you're in your offensive stance and put you in your defensive stance. I should quickly explain that the offensive stance gives you a -1 AC, but advantage on your attack rolls, and you get your dexterity modifier added to your damage. Defensive stats gives you resistance to all damage, and you gain 1 action point on a parry. And the Virtuoso stance gives you a -6 to your armor class, but advantage on all attack rolls, and then a damage bonus equal to your dexterity modifier plus your level. I also really like the Combustion, although this does have a 4 action point cost. This applies 6 stacks of burn to all nearby enemies and puts you in your offensive stance. So you can choose between these here if you prefer having the Combustion there. It's just our action point generation is not very high early on. Now, at level 3, we get to take some pictos. These are cool because they're passives, but they apply to our main attack. 30% chance to apply burn on hit is a really good choice, obviously, because we need that to get ourselves into virtuoso stance. And there are a lot of pictos to choose from. I'm not going to make this video like a couple hours long and go through all of them because there seriously is a lot of choice here, but you can just pause this here if you want to read through any of these. My choice, though, is Break Attack for being able to put the break on your main attack, although the Augmented Counter can be nice if you find that you like the parry style play. And Augmented Attack is nice because your basic attack will get additional damage equal to our level. So either that Break Attack or Augmented Attack, although Break Attack is nice, there is another feature that we can get a little later on. And while At Death's Door is super overpowered in Expedition 33, since we can't dodge as reliably in this game, At Death's Door is not as good. It's kind of the interesting thing here, is some strategies actually did apply well. Others, due to the nature of the gameplay in this game, aren't as great. Level 4 gives us the Phoenix Flame, though. I also just want to say this is an amazing adaptation. The Phoenix Flame here can resurrect a teammate for a final stand, and you can use a Phoenix Charge here. What's great, though, is this also keeps you in your stance, so if you want to keep your defensive stance, you'll be able to keep it with this. Now, our first feat, a +5 to initiative, is nice, although there is a picto that can give us this exact same ability. So for that, I'd actually think that dexterity increase is a good choice, too. Gives us a higher hit chance, although I do want to say that the alert feat is a very nice one. Level 5 gives us another choice in our spells here. I guess we'll at this point take our Spark there, so we have the defensive fire ability with a lesser action point cost. Also, Pierce, very powerful ability. Reason being is it gives us a chance to mark the enemy, but also if we're in our virtuoso stance, this only costs 2 action points. A lot of the gameplay in Expedition 33 is sitting on marked and using Pierce because it gets extra damage in that game, but this one is a very solid choice still. Breaking rules can be kind of fun if you got Shell, because Shell makes so you don't take damage, but yeah, this is one that I've been playing around with for many hours, and I'm still trying to find what I like best, but I just found that having Pierce, Spark, and being able to get into Virtuos was the best for early game damage. At level 6, we get more enhanced pictos after this one. I'm still going to go with the Break Attack here. Being able to attack and break an enemy is insanely good. Now our higher level ones, this is pretty cool. The Break Specialist gives us a 10% chance to apply Break on attacks. Now think about all the times you get critical hits in Baldur's Gate 3, that's a 1 in 20 chance for 5% chance. This is double that. Breaking is insanely good because it's basically a stun, so this is one we want. I also do like the 20% chance to apply Marked on hit too, because we want to get Mark on so we can do extra damage. Double Burn, normally very powerful in Expedition 33, only applies 2 more stacks in this and is only once per turn, so not as good. Burn Affinity, however, like it is in Expedition 33, is amazing, an additional 1d4 of damage. We're going to be applying Burn to pretty much everyone, so this can be really nice. Once we hit level 7, we get our enhanced spells. Stendhal, if you've used this, you'll know it's strong. This does a lot of damage, 40 to 80 damage, 5 hits, execute a target, enters offensive stance afterwards. Burning Canvas is kind of funny. If you're able to put a bunch of burn stacks on an enemy, this can give an additional 1d8 damage for every 10 stacks of burn on the enemy. Not as high as it can get in Expedition 33. Obviously, that game's pretty nuts, but it's fun. Sword Ballet is interesting too. It's similar to Stendhal as it has an 8 action point cost. However, it has a lower damage ability. And it also makes it so that you can mark a target on a critical hit. So it does have a bit more utility. Stendhal just obviously being the strongest skill in Expedition 33 and one of the most visually stunning. I like it, so I'm taking it. I think it's one of the best. Although I do think that Ride the Lightning ends up being a little bit better. This gives you 8 hits and does not consume mark and puts you in your virtuoso stance. So yeah, these two, it's kind of a tough choice. This one ends up being a little bit better on paper. Pyrolyze can also be quite fun, being able to apply a ton of burn on the enemy. There's so many really fun abilities here, so I recommend you experiment with these just to see what you like best. I'm gonna go with Ride the Lightning and Stendhal, just because Stendhal doing Stendhal things. Level 8 just gives us a feat here, which is nice, gives us a breather, and we can just go with the alert feat or a +1 or +2 to our dexterity. Level 9 gives us even more passives here, so we get from our basic list here, we can pick one more. I like to apply Mark on Break. Also, when you apply Mark, it has the big red X on characters too, which I think is pretty funky. And for our next pass that we'll take here, in Medea's res is actually kind of crazy. 5 shell means you're not getting hit 5 times, pretty nuts. But I think that SOS ends up being a little bit better because you get a bit of health back whenever you get below 50% health, which is a good way to survive. All in is kind of interesting. You get a 1d10 damage penalty, but you reduce the maximum critical threshold by 5. Pretty cool stuff, but obviously very impactful. Lucky Fifth gives you a free crit every 5th attack. That's also interesting. Longer shell can give you double the amount of shell, which obviously it's quite strong in this game, being able to block attacks. It basically gives the enemy a guaranteed miss. So this is like giving 2 guaranteed misses instead of 1, which can actually combo with the healing avoidance, being able to recover 10% max health points whenever they miss you with that attack. Double Marked is also really nice because Mark is just so strong. So I do think that ends up being the best one if you get a way to apply it consistently. Attack Lifesteal can also be pretty useful. 16% maximum health on a basic attack is useful. I also want to mention that the energizing attacks are also quite good that you can put on here, especially because we're going with the combo attacks. We get a double up on that action point. For that reason, we can actually then take the energizing attack there just to go all in on that to get our action points back. Level 10 gives us a couple more spells here. Pyrolyze is a fun one, so we'll take that. And I guess Sword Ballet to give ourselves a critical hit ability whenever we have a lot of action points. Level 11, we get even more choices here. Dead Energy will give us 3 action points on taking out an enemy. It's kind of nice, especially if we have Call the Weak Illithid ability on. We'll then take SOS, which we were previously going to take. And then coming into here, Longer Break is pretty nuts, so you extend the duration by 1 turn, meaning they're out of combat for twice as long. We want that. Lucky Third's cool. Free crit on your 3rd attack. Discount's also cool. Reducing the cost by 1 action point, which is actually really nice. Confident makes it so you can't be healed, but take half damage. Effective heal restores 10% of your maximum hit points when healed, which is kind of cool. There's a lot of really fun ones, but I think Energizing Turn ends up being the best, giving ourselves another action point on turn start. So we can start blasting with a lesser cost and also getting more action points per attack and per turn. So that gives us that resource hunger fix, so we're not constantly running out of action points. And level 12, get our final feat here. I would just recommend maxing out our dexterity or going with the Savage Attacker feat for rerolling your damage die, which is quite nice. I forgot, Burn actually scales off for intelligence, so you want to have your intelligence up pretty high. Now for equipment, I'm actually not going to go with anything here just for the purpose of this build because it's already quite strong, and I just want to play to the class abilities and not utilize too much gear. But if you got the Maelle armor here, the lay uniform from Clair Obscur at home, you get an additional 1 fire damage and +2 armor class, so you can at least be somewhat survivable. But we got a lot of really nice rapiers that come with this here, so Barrier Breaker is pretty nice, doing force damage and gaining shell whenever you take out an enemy, so that gives you a free hit basically. And then also a level 12, gain 1 shell at the beginning of your turn during combat. It's nice. Say Shalem gives you a shell whenever you go into offensive stance and reduces the critical threshold by 2 while in your offensive stance. Metalum, as it was very powerful in Expedition 33, is kind of a little nerfed here, so you start combat in your virtuoso stance, but reduce initiative roll by 5. Ouch. Going first in Baldur's Gate 3 is super important. Entering virtuoso stance, apply 3 stacks of burns on enemy within 8 meters, and leaving virtuoso stance, add 1 duration to burn on enemies within 8 meters. So, cool, but not as strong as Barrier Breaker, which we'll be rolling with. And I made up for the intelligence by having the warped headband of intellect here. So, yeah, if you need the intelligence, you can just use the headband here, unless there's another headband that you wanted to use. And there's not really a lot that would actually apply here, because our spell save doesn't really matter as much when all of these are attack rolls. So, yeah, it's just that our burn does scale off of that. And there's also a level 1 weapon trails, which look amazing, so you can put some different colored trails in your weapon. I definitely recommend it, because I think it adds to this. Another thing I do want to mention is there's feat added in this, which you can buff up your teammates so that they can apply statuses for you as well. This is because there's obviously no like firing builds. One thing that I like is that the stance that your character has while they're holding the rapier here is pretty sweet. So yeah, on our first turn of combat, I put haste in my character so I can attack twice, because this does not get an extra attack. It'll also remove all your action points at the start of combat, so it's something to keep in mind. So you see there, depletes and recover 3 action points at the beginning of combat, recover 1 at the start of a round, recover 1 when gaining a stance. So you can't really cheese it and make yourself short rest and get your points back. Now we need some way to be able to generate some extra burn on the enemies. That's the thing, is Baldur's Gate 3's combat's so quick and we can't really go through multiple turns like some other games like Expedition 33. However, we can use things like Combustion here to be able to apply burn on a multitude of targets. If you get lucky with something like that, you can sometimes get a couple off on them. So we'll try to roll with that, even though we'll eat that opportunity attack. We can also parry it, so we can follow up with an attack of our own, and boom, we broke them. Perfect, that was great. It's actually what we wanted. And then I'm going to go with the combustion attack on these targets here so that I can get a couple burn off on the enemy. That was enough to take out one of them. Perfect. They have 6 stacks of burn, so then we can use, I don't know if I can even make it there. Oh, we're good, we can. Swift Stride, which will put us into our virtuoso stance. So, yeah, we do need to get us our action points back, but look at that cool VFX there, and we're now virtuoso stance. So this will give us an additional 17 force damage on attacks, although our armor class is reduced, so we're only at a 19 armor class. That's, I guess, because I took that buff there. I reduced the armor class reduction. Also, you get these really cool pink petals that float around. And the Phoenix Flame is kind of cool. We have 1 charge of it here, but it doesn't take up an action or a bonus action, so we can get that revive off. That Broken was really nice because they skipped their turn, and they're going to skip another turn. So we kind of got rocked with damage, unfortunately. Yeah, show must go on. Now, we got a few options for attacks, and the thing is, a lot of these are just, I guess they're all just single target attacks, so you got to be kind of selective in what you want to expend your points on, your action points, because some of these will one-shot them, and you'll sometimes overexpend what you needed to. You see there, we got large ranges. I think Ride the Lightning is a really solid one, though, because this is, if you have a target marked, it's going to do crazy amounts of damage. But we basically want to be burning as much of this as we can. So I'm going to go with the Paralyze here for the crazy amounts of burn buildup and the cool VFX that you see there. More than enough to finish them off. But if they had a ton of health, that would have been an amazing choice. We got our action points back. So I'm going to then use this again on this one because, hey, we may as well. Getting action points back on that attack, pretty useful. Those 2 targets taken down and we got a nice critical hit. I do want to mention that I'm getting beat up pretty fiercely. There are currently no enemies that have burn on them, so that's kind of our job right now. So Spark is a pretty effective attack here that's going to be good for applying that. Full VFX as well. And we got the mark off, so they'll take 10% current health whenever we remove that from them. So yeah, I guess we can just go with a basic attack here. We got them broken too. I guess I could have just left them because that would have been fine. But we got 9 action points now. And we got another parry off, so boom, we can go back. Got the crit and a break, sweet. So that's amazing. They're now taken out of combat there. And they just pushed Minsk to his death, and I'm angry, so I'm going to take a Stendhal out on this one here, because no one does that to Minsk. Boom! Yeah, we got the crit off. That was a lot of damage, and we got multiple dice rolling again and again and again, so we got a lot of damage off. We'll then follow up that with a basic attack there. We got advantage on our attack. Boom! Wow. And somehow stacked up with Call of the Week to give us an 18, 12, and 18 damage again. Not quite sure how that happened, but we then got our attack. I think this is a multi-hit attack that might have triggered it multiple times. Either way, the target didn't need that extra damage. It was going down. And it was great because the other target was actually taken out of combat there. So we can go ahead here with Ride the Lightning, and it marked him. Wow. All right, so Ride the Lightning. We got 8 lightning, 4 force, 20 lightning, 6 force, 19 lightning, 6 force, 22 lightning, 6 force, 20 lightning, 4 force, 20 lightning, 6 force, 20 lightning, 4 force, 20 lightning, 4 force, and then 40 psychic damage from Call of the Week. Oh my goodness, yeah, they down. And to finish off, we'll use Pierce on this target here, and boom, I love that sword that comes up out of the ground. It looks so cool. So yeah, that is the Duelist class mod here by Beat Around My Bush. Again, I'll likely be covering this in the future because there's a lot to explore with this mod. I've been playing for hours, and there's like hundreds of hours of gameplay in this mod. It's seriously incredible. So many cool ways to synergize. Let me know in the comments your favorite way to use this mod. I'm curious because, yeah, there's a lot going on with this. This is honestly one of the most in-depth class mods that I've seen in Baldur's Gate 3. So, yeah, let me know your thoughts in the comments and have yourself a great day.